Is it visible, sir?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we'll be seeing about SSRs and Mode S. It'll be a brief look into what SSRs are, their origin, why they were developed, and also we'll be looking at Mode S and why it is a go-to thing in today's aviation environment. So, SSR stands for Secondary Surveillance Radars, as we already know. The development of SSRs is primarily due to the fact that since PSRs only give the position of the target, especially during World War II, we needed to identify aircraft easily as well as reliably. This led to the development of IFF, Identification of Friend of Foe, which was used in the military applications. From IFF came the development of its civil counterpart, which is what is known today as secondary surveillance radars. Unlike PSRs, SSRs also give the identity code, the altitude, and the bearing of the aircraft, along with the position of the aircraft. The position of the aircraft is determined by two variables, the range and the azimuth. The range is calculated from the delay between the interrogation and the reply, whereas the azimuth is determined from the direction of the ground antenna. Rather than a radar system, SSRs is basically an essentially two-way communication system between the ground antenna and the transponder fixed in the aircraft, which is based on interrogate and reply principle. The SSRs normally operate under various modes. These modes are classified based on the spacing between the P1 and P3 pulses. Given below are some of the modes with the time spacing between the P1 and P3 pulses, as well as the information that is transmitted in that mode. So I'll give you some time to look into it. Okay. So there are two mode interrogations in general, which is followed by a mode interrogation. This is because the aircraft ID is more important than the aircraft's altitude in most of the applications in which SSRs are involved. The reason that I have mentioned it as major advantages rather than just advantages is because of the fact that I'm not going to cover the advantages that were discussed in class, like they consume lesser power than PSRs, etc. So the first advantage is that SSRs are immune to clutter. Clutter is nothing but the echoing of the EM wave from the buildings, terrain, or weather phenomenon like clouds, precipitation, etc. This immunity to clutter of the SSRs is because of the fact that different frequencies are used for interrogation and reply. So potential echoes to the same side are ignored. Also, the altitude that we obtain from SSRs are relative to the standard pressure and does not depend on the altimeter setting selected by the pilot. So this helps in reducing and mitigating the manual errors. The disadvantages that are associated with the usage of SSR are garbling, fruit, and side lobe interrogation. Garbling is when two replies are received by the radar at the same time. This happens because all SSRs operate at the same frequencies. Garbling may result in either the detection of a non-existing aircraft or a target not being detected at all because they are ignored as a false target. The second disadvantage is of fruiting. Fruit stands for false reply unsynchronized in time or false reply unsynchronized interrogation transmissions. Fruiting happens when the radar receives a reply from a transponder which is not intended to that radar but rather to another radar. The problem with fruiting is that as we don't know the time of interrogation, the range estimation will be wrong and give a random value. Also, there is another reply, even if it is a valid one, garbling will be coupled with it. The third disadvantage is of side lobe interrogation. Side lobe interrogation happens when aircrafts are present at the side lobes of the ground antenna. If there is a ground antenna at the side lobes, the radar will falsely detect the target in the direction of the antenna. This is generally overcome by using a control antenna which emits a P2 pulse. How this works is that the P2 pulse in normal settings is lesser than the P1 and P3 pulses. If P2 pulse is greater than the P1 and P3 pulse, that implies that it came from the side lobe, so the transponder does not reply. So we saw that the xylem interrogation is overcome by a control antenna. But what about the former two disadvantages, Darwin and floating? So this is overcome by using a modest transmission. MODES works on the principle of selective addressing and selective calls to specific aircrafts. This is done by using the aircraft's address. The aircraft's address is a 24-bit data word. Since it is 24 bits, that implies that there are 16 million permutations. It's actually closer to 17 million, 16,777,216 to be precise. So, a modest transmission cleverly makes use of IC to avoid any potential fluting. Nowadays, it's also a legal requirement to have a modest transponder fixed in an aircraft, especially within the European Union. There are three steps involved in the modest transmission: acquisition, selective interrogations, and lockout. Okay, we'll be seeing about it in the next slide.
Sanjay, IC is interrogator code, right?
Yes, sir. It all starts when the radar sends all call interrogations to all the aircrafts present within its surveillance coverage. This all call interrogation is received by all the modus transponders fixed in the aircrafts, and each of them decode the interrogator code. Then they give a all call reply back to the radar, which computes the aircraft position as mentioned earlier, both the range and the azimuth. Thus, an aircraft is said to be acquired. Following which, the radar sends a selective interrogation to each aircraft one at a time using the aircraft's address. It may also request the identity or altitude of the aircraft based on mode A or mode C.
Sanjay, can you just repeat this acquisition?
Yes, sir. It's basically the radar sends all call interrogations to every aircraft present within its surveillance coverage. This interrogation is received by each aircraft, and it decodes the interrogation code and then gives a reply back to the radar. Again, this reply that is received by the radar, it computes the aircraft position based on the method that I mentioned earlier, that the range is computed from the time delay and the azimuth from the direction of the ground antenna.
Can you tell them why it decodes the IC? The receiver decodes the IC. What's it? Way it's going to help the communication.
We saw that floating takes place when when we don't know exact. So 1 second, sir.
Yeah, take our time.
Yeah, I'll come back to the same. Yeah. So we know that floating is when the radar confuse. I mean, the transponder sends out a reply, which is received by a radar, which did not which did not interrogate in the first place. So using an IC is like an identification code for that radar. So there is no ambiguity present now.
So basically, what you're trying to say is it will reply only to that particular radar. Even if the second radar is coming, it's not going to reply because it knows the IC already.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll see. Slightly kind of vague.
Okay. Following the acquisition, the radar sends out selective interrogations to each and every aircraft. Each aircraft one at a time, using via the modus address of that aircraft. It may also request the identity or altitude of the aircraft based on the mode A or mode C respectively. Then there will be a lockout request to prevent the aircraft from replying to all call interrogations from the same radar. This is for a duration of 18 seconds. And then once the radar has acquired the aircraft, then the all call replies will be of no use because it will be ignored. So this picture gives a crux of what I've been explaining, or rather trying to explain. So I'll give you some 30 seconds to look into it and you can come up with any doubts.
So you're also going to give them 18 seconds to look at this slide.
Slightly more than that, sir.
Okay.
30 seconds. Is there any doubt?
Yeah, the class can ask doubts. Okay, feel free.
I'll try to answer them, sir, if I know it in the first place.
No issues.
I don't think so any doubts are there, sir. So thank you for being a patient audience.
Oh, no, you go back. Okay, I have a doubt.
Yes.
You say you're telling in step 2, aircraft enters the range, right? No, you go
Yes.
back to the same slide. That's nice slide. It's a good slide.
Okay. Yes.
The aircraft enters range. Okay. What happens if aircrafts enter the range?
So can you repeat
More
it?
than one aircraft.
Oh, okay.
Then everyone is going to start replying. Then what happens? Quite possible, right?
Yes, sir.
If you're telling it is garbling happens because there are two aircrafts in the vicinity. So
Yes,
two
sir.
aircrafts can always enter that coverage area. And both will receive the all call interrogation first time. Then what happens?
I'm not sure, sir, but as I mentioned earlier, it may decode the IC and then give an all-call reply back.
But both are first time decoding the same IC. So first time they are coming across the same interrogator.
Okay, sir.
Possible, right?
Yes, sir. But I'm not sure what happens there.
Okay, assuming that only one aircraft has come at that particular point in time, and then it has replied. Then how do you ensure lockout? So it doesn't reply for all call interrogations.
Yes, sir.
Or what solution the class can give?
So does it decode that number? Like, I don't
Yeah.
remember what number that was. You were talking about some vehicle number or something last class.
Yeah, that is fine. But how do you see what Sanjay is trying to say is Modus has two interrogations. One is all call.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just like a broadcast. The ground-based radar tries to find out in its coverage area what all aircrafts are flying. Okay. So it's an all call. It's just a broadcast. Okay, now uh, it is an this thing like antenna is rotating. So azimuth wise, you can have different sectors. Aircrafts will receive at different times, and probably they will reply back. Azimuthly, they are separated, no issues. Our problem is garbling. If both aircrafts are in the vicinity, so both will receive the all call interrogation, and they'll start replying. Now, will it create confusion to the ground-based radar? See, what you are telling Akshaya is the second step. Once this proper acquisition is done, let us say there are 10 aircrafts, and you get now there are 7 students in the class. Okay, I just look at the screen and say who all are present. So I get information that so many students are available on this particular time. That's the first step. That's the all call. Once I know, then I can always call out, okay, Akshay, you tell me, or Sanjay, you tell me. That becomes a roll call.
Yeah.
Yeah. So during roll call, it is selective because I know your roll number. I call you by roll number. So the aircraft, even other aircrafts, if they are receiving, they will not reply because it is not meant to them. Sanjay, that's what you want to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but now the problem is what happens if during all call more than one aircraft starts replying. Akshay, your thing is clear. The second part.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. First part is slightly vague.
Sir, each transponder will send out different identification code.
That is the aircraft code, okay, identity.
Sir, so but radar can make out as it has different airplanes.
But what happens if both are sending at the same time? Don't you think it's a digital signal, right?
Sir, but the code will vary.
Code will vary, they'll start overlapping, interleaving. That was the problem of garbling. They started interleaving. See, it's like you lock both hands with your fingers, right? That's called interleaving. So it can be an erroneous code also. And the second issue is, okay, first issue looks quite complicated. Okay, it's all probability I'm speaking. The second issue is, once I send an interrogation pulse and one aircraft has received it and send a reply, all for the all call reply. Next time when the all call interrogation goes out, it should not reply. So that's called lockout. So how do I ensure lockout?
Sir, maybe because the same interrogation code is used, right, sir? So that's what logout is basically about, right, sir? Because once the transponder receives receives the all call reply, I mean the all call interrogation. So the all call interrogation will have the IC. So further on in time, if the same IC is decoded from the other from future interrogations, so it is logged out. It won't
Good.
reply to it.
Good, good. So that's the function of the IC, right?
Yes, sir.
So the aircraft knows that it has already replied, so there's no point replying again to it.
Yes, sir.
But you talked about some 13 seconds. Every 13 seconds, 18 seconds, you're going to do this all call interrogation?
No, sir. It was actually complicated, that part. But what I understand from that grasp from that is that although it happens, but it will not reply to it, sir.
Because it's from the same IC, right?
Yes, sir.
So, let us say the coverage area diameter, it's a circular thing, and diameter is 100 kilometers. Okay, and it's going along the diameter, any radial. So, once it has replied, after that it's not going to reply back.
Yes, sir.
The aircraft, that's what you're telling. It will get locked out.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, now for the class, just think aloud. I want to reduce this garbling. Can you go back to your garbling slide?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's not much details in it, sir.
Yeah, not much. Okay, so what he says in disadvantages, garbling is two replies at the same time. So I just want the class to think aloud. How can we overcome this? One is okay by modus, like what Akshay is telling, only selectively it's going to come. You call, make a roll call, and then get it. But initially there is a problem of garbling. Let's say there is no modus also. Can we do something? And for time being, we are talking about garbling in the radial direction. In azimuth direction, I think the antenna will take care. Antenna beam will take care. So what I mean by radial direction is, let us say one aircraft is coming from east at 10 kilometers. At 11 kilometers east, a second aircraft is coming. So both are replying at the same time, almost. Or let us even take so close that example. Probably one is at 5 kilometers, another is at 50 kilometers, but both are, say, let us say both are helicopters, and they are stationary, just to keep things simple. Whenever the radar beam crosses east, both are going to reply. Though in time they are displaced, but when you see the complete format of the reply, there is always a possibility that you'll have interleaving of pulses.
So maybe we can like increase the number of antennas so that they don't cross path often.
Uh, Increase number of antennas, how?
Like we can have like two antennas which will rotate
No, no,
south.
that doesn't solve the problem. No? First of all, it is a very expensive proposition.
Okay.
Yeah, and it really doesn't solve the problem. Both antennas will get confused because the problem is coming from the aircrafts, not from the ground station. Okay, I'll give a very loose analogy. Uh, Let us say Sanjay is sitting in in the same room, and you are W401 and Akshay, you are at 403. You both are in the corridor, and I am also in the corridor. Initially, I want Sanjay only to reply, and then after that, when I ask you some question, I don't want Sanjay to reply, and you should reply.
You call us by
No,
the
I know I don't know who is Sanjay and who is Akshay, but I know that there are two aircrafts on the corridor from W401 to W403. First, one aircraft is very close to me, the other one is quite at a distance. So whenever I am asking a question, initially Sanjay should answer me, but the second time I ask the question, Sanjay should keep quiet and you should answer.
So will you use distance parameter?
Distance, but how will I stop Sanjay from replying?
you will vary the threshold.
Okay. How? Good,
Uh,
good.
I
Let's
don't,
forget about electromagnetism and all, just acoustics.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Akshay, can you imagine the situation? What I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Uh, you're saying that one person is inside a small circle and another person is inside a bigger circle.
Yeah, and both are in the same corridor. Okay, just to
Okay.
keep things simple. And let's say Swaroop is in the other corridor. That can be resolved because of the antenna rotation. Okay. See, he is coming from the central block towards HOD's room, and you guys are there in the western block. So between the central block and western, no issues. I can resolve using the antenna beam width.
Should we like
Problem is,
reduce the frequencies?
no, frequency is
No.
same 1030 and 1090. Priya, any suggestions? Priya, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, is it like the power of farther plane?
Come again, Sarup? I lost you.
Is it farther plane is lower than the near?
No, same height, same for the third floor.
No, sir, power of the signal. Strength.
Okay. Okay. How will you do it? Good.
For the farther plane, it will be lesser than the near.
No, that is a very unreliable way of doing it. Because no one wants to work in terms of that sort of comparing levels. Anyway, even going by your suggestion, still Sanjay will reply and Akshaya will get less power. But if Akshaya is replying, definitely Sanjay will also reply. Isn't it, Saurabh? No? I agree. The power level for Akshaya is less compared to Sanjay's. Somehow I want to lock out Sanjay. Okay. First time I'm okay with Sanjay's reply, then I want to lock out.
So you will be sending a confirmation signal saying to lock out.
Both will receive, both will stop reply.
Sir, but you will have the identification number of the transmitter.
No, right now we are not even talking about modus. But I want to just improve upon this mode A and mode C, okay? Normal mode A operation, so that I can do this in the radial direction. At least I will be able to sort out this garbling. But I want to do all this with just my voice, nothing else. Sandhita, any guesses?
No, sir, nothing. I'm still thinking.
So do we like reduce the range covered?
Then? Okay,
So it's a
okay.
smaller
Sure.
circle, like we reduce the range so that the outer circle does not get the
Does not hear me, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So what should I do? I should just whisper, right, to Sanjay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he gets very good, Akshay. Huh? So he replies. Then for you to hear, what should I do?
Should be louder.
I should shout, right?
Yeah. Shout. Yeah.
I should shout. Huh? So when I shout, I must send some uh, preamble in such a way that Sanjay knows that it is a second roll call and he doesn't. And that preamble signal should be at the level of the whisper signal so that he doesn't reply now. Though you are hearing, Sanjay is not going to reply. So in the radial direction, I can do this whisper shout. It's called whisper shout. Okay, initially you whisper, then shout. When you are shouting, the first person gets one more. Someone was telling me control signal. So he gets one control pulse at the whisper level itself, which is not heard by Akshaya. So Sanjay knows that, oh, it's the second time it's coming, I should not reply. So he just remains silent. Whereas Akshaya now hears me because I'm shouting, and then she replies. Okay. So this is one of the techniques they use for preventing or reducing the harm. It's nothing like total prevention, but you can reduce. And the second one is what Sarup was suggesting. It can be in totally different radial direction. So you use a highly directional antenna, so that you interrogate only in sectors. Okay, let northern sector, eastern sector, like sector wise. So as such, you are reducing the problem by 75%. So only 25% coverage at any given time. So both antennas as well as this whisper shout technique is used. Okay, I think Sanjay it's a good attempt, Sanjay. You covered quite a lot. My suggestion is whenever you give this sort of presentations, maybe in your BTech project and all those things, try to include some figures.
Okay, sir.
One picture is equal to 1,000 words or 10,000 words, whatever they tell.
Yes.
It's easier for people to understand instead of just giving just text. Okay. So what we'll do is next class, I'll try to again go through this modus similar to what Sanjay has done, maybe with little bit more figures, and then we'll switch over to TCAS. Okay then. Thanks, Sanjay, for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
We'll meet in the next class. Bye.
Bye, sir.